time I just like forgot it was there.
Just as you slam the Bible down on the pulpit.
And I told him, I said, I'm going to start singing. Here in a minute.
I would like to bring, you guys have a Christmas dinner?
Yeah, I do.
I would like to, when you're trying to have dinner, that's what we're out of bring my office. It's going to be on Thursday.
So the girls made fun of it.
We'll run it.
They think I'm funny because I'm experienced. Like, who doesn't like these things that's okay? I mean, that's
Robert, that's right. Robert. Why don't we social pledge to the social committee? Let me get some more chairs after this.
I never remember
Hey, you have that. You have that ability. You have that ability.
turn the heat up.
Oh, yeah. I turned it off because it wasn't connecting to the system. Really? Yes. So I just turned it off. It may just have been on the wrong, and I didn't want to mess with it. So we're up and running. We're up and running. None of these folks are here for 7 years. They're all here. Okay. These are all places. Because I think at this point I've had meetings with most of these. Did Robert leave? You gotta stop making me laugh when it's here.
Before we start the public hearing, I'd like everybody's attention. Our township administrator has an announcement to make.
Yes, so I've got a special presentation tonight, so bear with me.
Drum roll.
So every now and then in your life you get to associate with some really talented people, and I came here last April after a long career and as the administrator, and I didn't know what to expect. And one of the people that really guided me, directed me, welcomed me, led me, we're going to honor tonight because Debbie, who thinks she's here, Debbie thinks that she is here because Robert couldn't be here to take notes for the meeting, but Robert is in the back. This has been a long time coming, but Debbie, won't you stand up? Stand up. She hates crowds, but this is quite remarkable, and I don't know if all of you know Debbie, but Debbie has literally been the face of the township for over 25 years.
Wow.
She has worked here. She just completed, I was just joking with her, she didn't know I knew all this, but she was hired here in July of 1998. She just completed her 25th year of service here, which is quite remarkable. When you think about the boards that she's worked with, all the professionals that have come and gone, the different issues in and out of the office that Debbie was left to manage. And when I got here, I quizzed her quite a bit because I'm kind of a history buff. And I asked her, what was it like? And she said, well, I was here alone. There was no one else. I was running the office. And when you stop and think about where we are now, how fast things are kind of seemingly moving at times, Debbie, I will tell you, is not only a dear friend to all of us that have the honor to work with her every day, but she has always and probably will forever be the face of Jerome Township. She's been to meetings, she stayed the long nights, and as it's pouring down rain, it's not raining on your parade. But internally every day, Debbie comes in, we greet each other, and this is a lady who's not only just been a dedicated public servant to this community, she lives here and she loves it. And for all of you that are residents and maybe you're just guests here, when you think of Jerome Township, you should be thinking of Debbie, because without this lady right here, I'm not sure that this place would still be open, this building. I think that a long time ago they would have been forced to do something else and take a gamble on somebody else. But just think of that, 25 years of answering phones, greeting guests here at the office. She's watched all these changes happen. She's seen trustees be elected and go and come back, whatever the case is. She's been the right-hand arm for Robert Caldwell, our fiscal officer, who's standing in the back laughing at you. All these years, and then to put up with a guy like me as the new administrator coming in is a testament. And she did it with care, she did it with dedication, and that's how she does her job every day. I've never seen her raise her voice, unless we're laughing. And she takes every phone call like it's her own child on the other end of the phone answering that call, because that's what she thinks. She really wants to get back to you. That's what, in my opinion, public service is all about. So tonight, Debbie, on behalf of the board, and anybody else can speak as well, this is just a small token that we wanted you to have on behalf of the township. It's got our new logo at the top, and it says, Jerome Township honors Debbie Bollinger for 25 years of outstanding service to our community. Let's give Debbie a round of applause. Just said, does that mean Robert's staying? Because she wants to go home. She wants to go home. So does anybody else?
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we really do appreciate all your 25 years of service and everything you do for this township. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Oh, we're proud of you.
Thank you.
I've known you for 11 years, and it's just amazing how on track you keep me and how crazy my day is. And I always know when I get my folder, everything I need is going to be in there. And truthfully, I can't say that I'm in my 9th year of being trustee, like everything's always in there that I need, and I've always been like, oh, thank you, Debbie.
Debbie, I've only known you for a couple years, but we became fast friends, and from the moment I was elected and stepped foot in this building, you treated me with kindness, made sure that we all had what we needed, did anything you could to make sure that the new elected folks didn't make a misstep, step in a mud puddle, and you are the epitome of a public servant, and we love you dearly. Thank you for everything.
And I'm going to say
Yes.
that to say that she's a great coworker, we all came out here today. We are her coworkers. We took the time out tonight to come here.
You have a speech?
No, I do not.
Yeah.
I do not.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. You earned it. Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks.
Thank you. Chairman, the floor is
This
yours.
for Robert.
Yes. Thank you. Have a great night.
I'd just like to make an announcement that I know there's a lot of people here, but we go through our public hearing first for zoning amendment, and then we'll go through our regularly scheduled meetings. So we appreciate your patience if you're hearing public comments. We're going to go call to order the public hearing piece first. Okay, I'd like to call to order the Board of Trustees public hearing for case Z24001, a map amendment located on a 1 acre tract on the south side of Warner Road, west of Industrial Parkway. Call to order. Roll call.
Mr. Adler,
Present.
Ms. Davis,
Present.
Mr. Kraft,
Present.
Mr. Snowden, would you like to make the staff presentation?
I would. This will be brief. Mr. Chairman, I have the public hearing sign in for this. The only person signed up to speak right now is Jack Reynolds. Jack is the agent for the attorney for the applicant. So, with your permission, we'll get to him when my presentation is complete. This is an application for map amendment for a 1 acre tract south side of Warner Road. Basically, what you have here is you have the farmhouse that was split off of an approximately 90 acre tract. Behind it, the tract behind it is zoned Office Research Medical District and used for a data center. The subject 1 acre lot is zoned RU District. To the north across Warner Road, the site is zoned Commerce District and is portions of the site are across Warner are being developed for light industrial uses. Previously, the board approved a rezoning for the tract I'm going to call behind the red area, which is being used for a data center, and that's currently under development. This tract has been acquired by or is in the process of being acquired by the owners of the data center tract, which they propose to integrate into their development. They probably do not have to rezone it to just bank the land, but they intend to construct some fences, other landscaping, and so on. And my position is that the fence and stuff is accessory to the data center use. So here is the future land use plan. The township's future land use plan calls for office research medical uses. So the zoning district that's proposed is the zoning district that was designed when the zoning resolution was last heavily amended to accommodate the land uses that are proposed. So in short, I'm going into another old case there. I'll bring up an aerial photograph, but in short, I'm not expecting any development. I don't think the applicant proposes any development here other than fencing and landscaping. LUC Regional Planning Commission recommended approval. The Township Zoning Commission recommended approval. And I have drafted resolutions, which should be to your left there, Barry. You should see 2 draft resolutions. It is a standard district, so the board's options would be to approve or to deny. There's no approval with modifications for a standard zoning district. I'm seeing Mr. Griggs nod, so I'm confident I'm correct in that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Other than that, I'll turn things back over to our chairman, Mr. Adler.
I do have one question that kind of confused me. It's my understanding that this particular parcel is in the Jerome Township Innovative Plan District.
It is the site is located in the Innovation Plan Development District. However, the Innovation Plan Development District has not been applied to this lot. It is in what we commonly call the overlay area.
Right, but is there a reason why it needs to be rezoned as opposed to the new?
Yeah, so your question is...
Amazon just coming in for a detached
Yeah,
development.
and the answer is that they want to match the standard zoning district that's behind it. They don't want to have 2 different zoning districts on their parcel, and the uses is so in short, you're asking, the question you're asking me is why don't they want to pull down the cloud? The answer is it's a 1 acre lot that's part of a 90-some acre development that's behind it, or is proposed to be. So pulling down the cloud for 1 lot does not really make
It's 1
sense.
acre.
Yeah, correct.
I just thought it wouldn't need rezoning if they just simply build that.
Yeah, so Barry, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Standard districts are a lot easier for my office to deal with. So if something can go with a standard district and the public interest still be protected, even if it's in an overlay area, I'm happier in the long run. It's easier to administrate the zoning resolution than it is to deal with detailed development plans for a fence and landscaping.
Any other questions?
No.
We'd like to turn this over to the attorney.
I think
Applicant, please
that, my name's
state
Jack
your name and
Reynolds.
address.
I'm here on behalf of Glenn Duggar, who's on vacation. And I think the aerial gives you a very good perspective. It speaks 1,000 words right there. There's a notch that was left out of the 90 plus acres, and they were able to finally negotiate a purchase price so that it fills out all of the perimeter of the entire 92 acres. So it's just bringing this in as a part of the overall development. That's it.
Yeah. I have no questions.
Questions, Joe?
No, thank you, sir. Thank you.
And there's no further.
There's no one
comments?
signed up for public comment.
Okay, I'd like to open this. Does anybody have a public comment at this time? Very limited. If not, then I'm okay with going ahead with this. Okay, I move to approve the resolution to render a decision on the proposed amendment to the zoning resolution of official zoning map of Jerome Township, Union County, Ohio, in case number Z24004. I move that the recommendation of the Jerome Township Zoning Commission to approve the proposed amendment to the official zoning map be and hereby is approved by the board, therefore approving the application.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Adler, before you close the hearing, just for the record, the case, and I apologize, I'm typing too quickly. It's Z24-001. All the other information is correct. Mr. Caldwell, and I can fix that on the resolution. So that you read it correctly. I was incorrect. So it's Z24-001.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
The resolution is approved as directed.
Sign this one or no?
You could, I can go type up another, or just correct that real quick if you want.
Up to you.
I move to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
Time is 7:15 p.m. Public hearing is adjourned. Okay, we're going to go right ahead into the regular scheduled meeting. Are there any corrections to the agenda? Oh, wait, before we do that, I'd like to call it to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Adler?
Present.
Ms. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Kraft?
Present.
Let's all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does anybody have any modifications to the agenda?
No.
If not, then I move to approval of the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Just a second here. Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Let's move on to approval of the minutes.
We have the minutes of the special meeting of June 18th, the regular meeting of June 18th, the special meeting of July 2nd, and the regular meeting of July 2nd.
Any changes, corrections? If not, I move to waive the reading of the minutes and approve the minutes as submitted.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the fiscal officer report and approval of warrants. Please, Mr. Caldwell.
First item I have are your warrants, per your pending warrant reports. There are warrants 44,816 through 44,848 and 94,067 through 94,071.
Before we approve these warrants. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Moving right along. Next on the agenda is public participation. We do have 2 persons signed up to make public comments this time. First call up Daryl Will. Please come up to the podium.
Mr.
State
Chairman,
your name.
I apologize for the interruption. Both Mr. Will and I'm expecting the other person on there, which you can ask, are probably wanting to comment on the item listed under the zoning and nuisance actions. So if you wanted, if it was the will of the board, it might be more appropriate to ask them to comment there if that's what their intention is. So I apologize for that.
Is that your intention, Mr. Will and Mr. Jevis?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
I
we're-
think that's good, and let's let the public.
We're gonna get the nuisance report first and then allow them to comment after Mr. Snowden gives his report.
Well, but no,
Very.
I'm saying, should we let our officer go before we get into weeds with that?
That's good. We might be here for a few minutes with that, unlike normal, so that might, if that was the will of the board, that might be appropriate.
Can we amend the schedule?
Okay, well, let's go ahead and with your approval, then we'll go ahead and amend the agenda to allow our public safety officer to come up right now so that she may get back to her duties.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's a full house tonight, so I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Deputy Snyder. You guys have 4 deputies specialized on patrolling Milford Township. So we have some jurisdictions to patrol and be around you guys. I don't have anything new to report this week. We're still getting a lot of complaints for the construction and detours, but if anybody has anything for me to pass along to my guys, I'm all ears.
Thank you. I don't have anything at this time.
And then I'd like to open it for any public comments for our officer, if you have it at this point. Any residents? If not, then thank you so much and be safe out there.
Thank you. Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay, now we're gonna, again, modify the agenda, allow our zoning nuisance and economic development action. Mr. Snowden would like to speak regarding zoning violations for Glacier Point.
Mr. Chairman, other members of the board, as I think you're aware, there has been a long-standing in zoning enforcement and related nuisance challenges out of development off of Mitchell DeWitt Road, commonly known as Glacier Point. This has been going on for several years, specifically last August, complaints started to be filed. My office started to take action. Since I last was before you, when you all approved the bond agreement with the developer, some, let's call it, of the landscaping that is required has been installed. As to a percentage of there, it's definitely more than 50% in, but I couldn't give a more detailed report there because there's just a lot of non-compliance throughout the site. We set a deadline, you all did through your action, of May 31st. Obviously, it's now July. I've been talking with the county prosecutor's office who has been giving us legal advice on this. I spoke with Mr. Gray earlier today. If it was the will of the board could, and Robert has a motion. Robert, you might have to give that to Barry to actually make the motion, or someone else, if I didn't give a copy. But there is a motion which was drafted and reviewed by the prosecutor's office to authorize legal counsel, in this case the prosecutor's office, to contact the surety bond company in this case. What that might trigger, what I expect that to trigger, and what Mr. Gray thinks it will trigger, is the surety bond company trigger some meetings between the surety bond company, the prosecutor's office, myself, and the developer. On top of that, all that information, I was notified earlier today that the players within the development company, which is called Glacier Point Development Limited, have changed. In the long run, I think that's probably going to help affect solutions for that. I have been in communication with a representative from the HOA's manager there, who is called Collective House Realty, who will be taking over some of the duties per what they've provided. That being said, the deadline for this stuff, for the landscaping and stuff being installed, was like 3 months ago. So, you know, coming in on the day in, that this appears on the board's agenda and saying, stop doing this, I'm not comfortable with that. So, Mr. Gray's position is that, you know, the board taking this action or giving this authorization is not going to start any processes that are going to get out of control, but it's just the next step in the enforcement of this situation. In the long run, residents have been extremely patient. They've been extremely patient with me in my office. They've been very understanding with responses. They've been very diligent in collecting the information, documentation. The file on this continues to grow. This is just a portion of it because a lot of it's electronic. I mean, it's starting to take over my office, and it's I mean, but that's what's necessary in these type of cases. So, with that, I'm requesting the motion be passed to authorize. The motion is to authorize legal counsel to contact the surety bond company. That's essentially the motion. But I know the residents that there's folks here and folks who signed in that want to speak to you. I'm happy to continue meeting with them. I'm happy to continue answering questions. This is where we're at. It's not a good situation.
Okay, well, let's move on and get the public comments. Mr. Will, will you come back up? State your name and address, please.
I'll give you a copy of this.
I'm Darrell Will, 8877 Cove Drive, Plain City, Glacier Point Development. And we've been involved in this, and the group of people that are here, as well as others at the board meeting, had the same type of solidarity and on behalf of all the residents of Glacier Point in trying to get these things remediated with the developer and the HOA, and it's really fallen on deaf ears. I really appreciate all the efforts of Eric Snowden and the board in that regard. But we had a meeting this past week at our clubhouse, and just for the record, I'd like to read the synopsis that I wrote for all of the residents that I passed out to at Glacier Point and the MI Homes, as well as the patio home department. So basically it says, this past Tuesday evening, over 45 residents from the MI and patio homes at Glacier Point met at the patio home clubhouse. A number of us provided an update regarding the items on the detailed master plan, which have yet to be completed by the Glacier Point developer, Jay McIntyre. Many items are still unfinished despite the zoning board's requests made to him during the past 4 years. This includes the most recent warning letters issued in August of 2023 by the zoning board commissioner's office. Since then, a performance bond was obtained by the prosecutor's office with a deadline of June 18th for all items on the detailed development plan to be completed. The deadline for compliance has come and gone with a laundry list of items still yet to be completed. Ultimately, the performance requirements have not been met. Bare earth areas affected by erosion, landscaping and trees not installed, roof shelters above mailboxes missing, and turf grass reseeding issues still persist. The work that has been completed to date has been in large part a direct response to complaints and action taken by the residents of Glacier Point, the Jerome Township Zoning Board, and the Union County Engineer's Office. Without their efforts, we would still be dealing with inaction and non-response by the developer. The consensus of those in attendance at the meeting was that the performance bond be enforced, enacted, and awarded to a contractor or contractors for completion of all items as depicted on the original detailed development plan without further delay. And then just went on to give them the information. Some of the residents here have been in that development for 3.5 years. I've been a resident for 2 years. We get no cooperation from this developer whatsoever. He doesn't return phone calls, he doesn't return emails. The HOA's hands are tied by him, and I'm happy to hear that there's been a management change, hopefully for the better, certainly, and that communication can improve. But it's time to move on. Some of us, 4 of us, just as an example, bought 3 cubic yards of topsoil to place in the irrigation ditches behind our homes because he simply wouldn't do anything. We seeded that area by ourselves. The slope behind us is so great that that area is entirely washed out and it's just topsoil. So we heard from him numerous times, nothing is accomplished. So I appreciate it if we had your support in passing that resolution. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We have one other person signed up for public comment, George Gavis, I believe.
Close enough.
Gavis. Could you state your name and address, please?
Give me a handout as well.
Oh, nice to see you.
Yeah, this you too. This is actually part of the landscape plan that was presented and approved by that group. So I just thought maybe you'd take a look at that and some of the things that Darrell was mentioning. If I go forward. So George Givas, my address is 8682 Elliott Drive. I've been in that development for almost 3 years. We were one of the first homies in that development. The things that I'm showing you here are actually the biggest concern, which is the parking lot area where you can see the 5 trees that were planted. Below that are stones. And 2 weeks ago, I saw the developer at the clubhouse. I approached him and said, why do we have stones here? You have an irrigation system underneath that. This should be grass. And his comment was, Bob, we did that, and I'm not going to make any changes to it. So that's concerning because, again, when you look at this map, that's number one. Number one says sod. So sod was supposed to be planted there. I mentioned to him about the trees around the basins, and those still haven't been completed. His comment was, can't do that until the fall, it's too hot, trees won't survive. Again, he's had 2 years plus to do it, so now he's pushing it off to fall, and I'm not confident that he'll do it in the fall, just based upon past means of working with this individual. You can see also some certain things that need to be put in around the pool. Darrell mentioned some of those, but again, my concern is that he's not going to do anything about the stones. And also, the second page shows on Elliott Drive, you can see that there's supposed to be trees along the side. There are no trees. He hasn't installed the trees. And again, his comments when I was talking to him about this, plus many other items, was just take care of it in the fall. He did make the comment that he was working with EMI right before I approached him. And he said within a week, we will have a lot of landscaping around the pool. And sure enough, there's no landscaping. So it's been 2 weeks. Any questions?
No,
Thank you very much.
share the same concerns.
Can I ask a question as far as the performance bond, or is that?
You can ask a question. I can't guarantee I'll be able to answer it.
Okay, the expiration date, is that coming soon, or is that?
Yeah, so your question is, does the bond expire? Is that your question? I'll have to actually look at it, look at the fine print in short. Typically, the answer is no, but I will need to review it. In short, the normal answer is if the board doesn't act to release it. So let's say hypothetically the property owner did all the work and we finally get to the point where it's like, they did it, okay? The board would have to act, so I would be before the board requesting that the board take a motion to release the bond. So my guess is it probably doesn't expire, but I'll have to talk to Mr. Gray about that. As far as I'm concerned, we got them until it's done. That's where I'm at right now. Yeah.
The dollar amount is at 170,000, is that?
I have it right here. Let me take a look. And again, even if something wasn't included in the performance bond, if it was shown on the detailed development plan, I think you all have the multiple phone calls and records requests from you all are great. They help me, but I'm showing you what I've sent to them. I've told the developer repeatedly, even if it's not listed on a list that I give, it's shown on the plan, it's required. The amount on the bond, I'll get back to you on that. I just have to read the fine print.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Pardon me, 107, so the members of the board, 177,000 and change is what the bond is for. And again, that was based off an estimate for a certain amount of work in certain sections, but it doesn't matter whether that was included in that or not. They're committed to all of the required landscaping on the detailed development plans. It doesn't, if I'm giving them a list, the list is a courtesy. Okay, they've been told that multiple times, and that's not going to change. So I just want everybody to be clear on that, because I'm not perfect either. There's been so many problems out there. It's like, nope, they need to do that too. Nope, they need to do that too.
Yeah, the planning said taken place within the first week or so. There was a company came by and watered the trees. He made the comment to me that he'd be around every week and a half or so, and he hasn't been back. So the trees could die within that.
Then they got to put a new tree in. Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
Yeah. So my guess is that that individual's not being, that company's not being paid, and so as a result, they're not coming around.
Could you explain to me some of the details of what the surety bond in effect does? Does that mean that if they don't perform the work, we can hire somebody to do the work and use those funds?
It can be done a couple. I apologize, Mr. Adler. I apologize for interrupting you. Your question is a valid question. The answer to that question is Mr. Gray is looking into that. It sometimes is done that way. It's also sometimes where the surety company goes out and hires a contractor and brings their own contractor in. Doesn't change the fact that I still have to have oversight over it.
What's the timeline?
I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer
Do
for
we
that.
have any hand in the timeline?
So, Mr. Gray's helping us through the prosecutor's office, and he has all the information. But Pete, this is like the third or fourth time I've heard about this, and I know they were dealing with this before. Can we just have Eric not issue any more zoning certificates until they get their stuff done? They can't build anymore over there?
No,
Per Mr. Gray, I have raised that with Mr. Gray. I received the same answer.
no, you can't. So, but,
I mean, part of the zoning was that they would do these
Yeah.
things.
I mean, I don't know, I don't know if you have the ability to.
We all
to
have
take them
our
back to
individual
court.
vote for various reasons.
Pain, their pain point would be like, well, if we can't build, maybe we ought to put this stuff in and then we could get our certificates.
You have the ability to go back to court, don't you?
Yeah, and we have the ability to go back to court. That has no, we've authorized that already. So,
So the other option, in addition to calling in the bond, which I don't disagree with the advice, is to always bring him in front of the judge and have him answer to the judge, and, whether or not there's contempt, attorneys, things, time and expenses, that's typically where you are going to get somebody's attention, is when you haul them back in for contempt.
so the board has already authorized Thane to do that or directed him to do that. I can respond back to him if it's the will. We don't need to you all don't need to take another vote, but if it's the will of the board that get filed as well, all you need to do is just tell me, and I'll
And we
convey
can
that.
vote.
Just
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of
And we
Eric's
do
time
both.
spent
Yes.
on this.
I like-
Already.
We can do both.
Yeah.
So, I understand then we want to make a motion to authorize the direct legal counsel to contact the surety company, reference the following bond agreement,
Hmm.
and then we also vote on.
You already have.
authorized
You've
that.
already.
Court.
You just tell me that that's what you want to do by all three of you looking at me and telling me you want me to tell
I would
Thane
like
that.
to do that.
Eric,
Okay. Well, I'm making a motion then to authorize the direct legal counsel to contact the surety company in reference to the following bond agreement. Glacier Point Development Limited, the date of the bond agreement was March 11, 2024. Roll call.
Second,
Roll call.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
yes.
Mr. Kraft?
yes.
Thank you.
So,
I'll report back as soon as possible.
okay.
Mr. Adler, I don't know if there's anybody else that didn't sign up that wants to speak on that issue or not, but.
Is there anybody else in the audience who'd like to speak?
Eric, you mentioned that you heard today.
Can folks
Could you come up and
this
state your
podium,
name?
state your name?
And podium, please keep your comments to under 3 minutes.
Mark Weedy, 8884 Co-Drive. Eric, you mentioned that you heard there was a change in management.
Yes, sir.
What is that change you heard today?
Daryl already did a records request on that, so he will, I'm sure, circulate that through the usual channels. I've been referring to Daryl as the ringleader. I mean that in the nicest possible way. I'm sure there's others, and there are others. The answer, from what I understand, the developer, the individual person with Glacier Point Development Company, Development Limited that you all were dealing with, that was sort of, for lack of a better term, the roadblock. I received a notice from Collective House Realty that person is no longer involved with the development, period. And
Mr. McIntyre.
that is correct. The new person, the new contact I was given with Glacier with Collective House's Haley Bogarty.
She's not much better.
Are there any further comments or questions? Please come up to the podium, state your name. Address.
Hi everyone, I'm Haley Cote, Special Grove. So I did not come here.
Your address also?
Address, please.
Address.
Even business address. Business address 230 West Street, Suite 200, downtown. I did not come here, I apologize, I didn't know this was happening until a little bit earlier today, but I'm not coming here to defend in any way the developer at all. I'm horribly, horribly embarrassed and very, from the bottom of my heart, apologize for everything that you all have been through. We've seen it, and I'm very, very sorry that we haven't been able to do a lot. So Jay McIntyre has been replaced. I am taking his spot, and obviously I'm not going to be around here much longer because I am going on leave, so my deadline is a lot shorter than maybe what they've given me to get some of this stuff done. So I do want to let you know that I'm going to send out an email that's detailing all of the list of items that we've received from Eric Snowden and then also from the residents and where we are with those action items. So I have a meeting tomorrow with leadership to push through a lot of approvals. I have close to $200,000 on my list of everything that needs to be done in order to get started on some of the compliance issues. So, again, I'm really sorry. Happy to take any questions. I'm not sure how this works. So
Yeah, if you have a public comment,
It would
come
be
up and
one at a
state your
time.
name, one at a time, up to the podium. to ask.
Thank you.
Well, Haley, I'm really glad that you're here today, but if you could please share, it's gonna get really ugly. We need to get this taken care of. It's really been a waste of this board's time, it's been a waste of Eric's time, and thank you for coming out.
yeah, I'm really sorry. Yeah.
Okay, we've got some questions, further comments, please come up to the podium, state your name. Address, please.
Keep it simple.
Ron Walker, I live at 8908 Co Drive in the Glacier Point subdivision. I just have just a comment that when we met before and when they were to do some work and they planted some trees, and immediately that week, our HOA fees went up.
Okay.
And that's not a coincidence. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have no control over each other.
Yeah, the township doesn't have a regulatory authority over that.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I'm Musser. I live at 8871 Co Drive. I can kind of speak to that. The Collective House representative that worked in the model, I know one of our residents went over and said, why are our dues going up? And that employee said he had to pay for the trees, so he has to raise your dues. So that's what we've been dealing with. But my other question, I wanted to make that point, and we love you, Haley, and we're happy that you're pregnant. But anyway, that's my other question for you, and I guess I need an understanding. We have this surety bond for $170,000, whatever. There's so much work that needs to be done when you think about the pergola and the kiosks and the landscaping. That's going to far exceed that 170. Then what happens at that point?
Where did that number come from?
The number came from their estimate for landscaping for sections 1 and 2. With respect, and again, I'm not perfect. I think the pergola was actually overlooked in one of my estimating. Probably should have been higher. Nonetheless, that goes back to what Mr. Krigg said, which is you have court. So even if the bond doesn't cover the full amount of what they're being required, now we're talking legal action against them.
That's okay, so when you say court,
Yes.
is that the Jerome Township people, or
No.
is that as the residents?
Well, what you may have other civil things that you all can do. I don't know that. It means the township. It really means the prosecutor's office as legal counsel to the township filing an action for non-compliance with what's called the township zoning resolution, essentially zoning code for the township.
So we would be putting the developer in front of a judge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's us. It's us.
It's you.
Yeah.
So we
And
don't have
so
to-
that's why we gave Eric, as a board, the head nod here, you approved this.
Okay.
But we didn't pull that lever yet because we were allowing this deadline in hopes that the developer would meet the deadline, but it's come and gone.
Okay.
And so now we're saying we're going to, move forward with the bond, but we're also going to put the developer in front of a judge.
Okay, great. thanks. And we all really appreciate your time. Eric's been a real jewel, so thank you so much, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you for your comment. One more comment?
Well, I think there were others.
Oh, and someone more.
I'm back. George Jeebus, 8682 Elliott Drive. My question is, the severe erosion on one of the basins, and you've seen that, you've said you've multiple photos. And apparently, I contacted the county engineer, and he said he's going to meet with them. Not sure if he's able to meet with them or not. Also, then the storm sewers are plugged. Is this more of an EPA issue that we should contact them?
Storm sewer is purely a county engineer's office. I appreciate how patient everyone's has been. There's so many moving parts with this that I'm always closing the circle. Let me talk with Luke Sutton tomorrow and try to get an update on that. I have been addressing the erosion on the pond as just, hey, you don't have grass growing type of thing. So I haven't gotten in, like normally the township doesn't have water powers, if you will, drainage powers related to this, but because they didn't put in landscaping, I've kind of addressed it. Let me circle back with Luke. I apologize, I don't have that answer, but I gotta ask him. I'm not aware that it would be an EPA thing. The EPA thing would be an overall permit to the site for sanitary, not for stormwater.
But what about the erosion of the water basin?
It would be managed through the engineer's office. Yeah, it's through the engineer's office. Let me get an update on that, but I think, again, all that needs to be done is just the stuff filled in and grass planted. So, again, I'm reinventing the wheel to tell people where to put grass seed.
So would that be part of the landscape plan?
That's how I'm treating it. That's how I'm getting it at it from the zoning side.
Okay. Yeah, we were told it could be $30,000 to $40,000 of the 170. So
At this point, the monetary amount doesn't matter. They have to do it. It's just, we're done.
good to hear that.
Yeah.
Take one more comment here, over here. Name and address, please.
Bob Netters, 8744 Elliott Drive, Glacier Point. So just one comment and then a follow-up question as well, just to build on what George said earlier. The trees that were planted in the spring are dying. You can clearly see it. There's also either a fungus or an insect infestation on some of the trees as well. So that'll have to be factored in. And I guess that brings me to my question. How do we ensure everything is addressed? You mentioned we'll be sending a list. If we know there are things that aren't on the list, will we reach out to you?
That is my duty, ultimately.
Okay. So once we see the list,
keep filing complaints.
if we
Seriously.
see something missing, we
That's exactly right.
share that with you.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
You can also email and copy both me and Haley rather, like some folks have been doing, as opposed to when folks were emailing the other person and it just went into a black hole.
Hi, Eric Thomas, 8934 Glacier Point Drive. Just have a quick question. So there's a section of Coe Road that they cut out to do some utility work, and the pavement has not been replaced. Is that a county road or a township road? Whose responsibility is that?
Great question. The answer is yes to that. It's a township road, but has not been turned over to the township for construction. The reason that has been cut out is because there's going to be a new stub street put in there. So I'll put that on my list to talk to Luke tomorrow and see what the status
So
is.
it's been probably 3 or 4 months.
What's happening there is the water stubs that were under there are being removed. Because there were stubs to lots. The lots there have been kind of reconfigured. So ultimately, with regard to anything in the right-of-way, it's regulated a little bit differently. The engineer's office also has performance bonding for the right-of-way improvements. The engineer's office will not accept the improvement until it's installed as completed, and then they have to assign it to the township. So we can follow up with them, but in short, it doesn't become an official public road until all that's done as well. Just regulated differently.
Looks like we have one more question, please.
Carol. So I have a question for Ed, and it has to do with transparency as far as expenditures by the HOA. Now that Jay McIntyre is no longer there, we couldn't get anywhere close to the books to find out what costs were being attributed to what. Is that going to change? Are we going to get a ledger of all of the expenditures and how they're being addressed?
Detail. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to speak.
Go ahead.
Okay, yes, I can circulate that as well as we'll start to share that on at least a quarterly basis. It is still a little bit of a tricky situation situation until the community is at least 75% developed out as far as who maintains control over the board and what necessarily can be shared. But what I'm recommending is that we bring a representative from the community on as a minority member of the board, just to have that visibility and be able to share some of that stuff. But
Thank you.
Thank you for your assistance. I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Pretty much everybody in the crowd's from Glacier Point. Is that-
Yes.
okay. I just wanted to make sure. You raise your hand though.
When did we start having meetings last year, I think, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And thank you for all the work. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for all
Haley,
the
thank
work.
you for coming out. This is
okay,
good.
well, everybody was ready.
Without the diligence of the residents, we wouldn't have the documentation we needed to move forward with these issues and solve them properly. So thank you for being here. Brave of you to be here, and thank you for being here.
All right. Moving on, if we could go to the administrative report.
Yes, thank you. I don't have any updates from fire, only that they remain high volume with calls just because of warmer weather and lots of traffic. So nothing else for that. On the road department report, I just wanted to update the board that Eric Williams, that you authorized. Oh, sure, we can wait. Yeah. Or I can talk.
Don't feel like
while-
you have to leave. You can stay.
You can stay, whoever wants to stay.
Lots more fun.
Are there cookies? Thank you.
Appreciate cookies. There you go.
Appreciate the residents attending and your comments. You can bring cookies next time. That way we can hear you.
Yeah. So continuing, we did successfully hire Eric Williams. He has now started in the road department. That does get us back up to full staff. Our two college helpers, they'll be soon going back. They're both finishing up. They'll be starting college, and so we'll kind of lose them, or at least one of them who's a college football player. So we'll lose him on the 31st, and then he may, if we need him, he may come back as we need him in the winter months or so on. The other thing I'd like to note is that we're very familiar with the ongoing complaints about the destruction of Mitchell DeWitt from the traffic being routed down that way. Not only did the sheriff's office report that tonight, but our road department continues to monitor that daily. I was down there myself looking at it today. There's another section that's falling apart, crumbling, and it's because of the weight of the trucks. So Vince and I have talked, our road supervisor. We've reached out to Jeff Stouch, and there's no current plan for any kind of a paving project after the roundabout's done. But I would like to put the board on notice that if the road continues to deteriorate at this rate, we're going to be doing nothing but patch repair jobs for the next few weeks, probably long after the roundabout's built and the road reopens. I don't know what the answer there is. Maybe we can get together at some point with the engineer, but at this point, you know, we, on an emergency basis, a week ago, we worked with Concord Township. They loaned us, not only did they deliver it for us, but they actually stayed and kind of helped us a little bit. They have a roller for the asphalt, and we couldn't find one fast enough. And so shout out to Concord Township for doing a really, really solid job helping us along with that to get the project done. I don't have anything else on zoning. Eric, do you want to update the board, if you can, on the comp plan?
Brandon and I are meeting with MKSK tomorrow. MKSK just let me know, Mr. Kraft and Mrs. Davis, that they really would like to meet with you. We will reach out to you tomorrow with some dates and times. Again, it's not.
I spoke with Kyle.
Okay.
He was leaving.
He was on vacation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I haven't heard from him since
This
he
month,
came back.
this month he was on vacation.
I will make certain that that happens.
Because last month I went to schedule and he was on vacation.
We will. We're going to facilitate that again.
For payment.
We want to make sure that we just want to make sure that we offer you the opportunity to meet with them before any draft plans go out to the community. So we'll be in touch very, very soon.
Let me ask a question relating to timing. Will the comp plan need to go on the ballot, and when is the due date?
Barry, I'm fairly certain I've told you it does not go on the ballot.
No, we vote.
Yeah, so the
Go ahead, Eric, sorry.
no problem. So the process is not provided by law. Okay, what most townships do, and what I would recommend, I'm sure Pete has told the same thing, is that the zoning commission will hold a hearing. We'll send a copy to LUC for review and recommendation. The zoning commission will hold a hearing, and then it will come before the board. But there can be many informal hearings. It's not a formal process. The board needs to see it, a couple times. You don't have to continue the hearing, if you will. You just have it. We'll say we'll talk about it, we'll table it, that sort of thing. So we follow the rezoning process as a matter of convenience, but it's not a formal process. It does not go to the ballot. Though there's no legal way to even do it, to even send it to the ballot.
But since it's not a zoning resolution, then it doesn't have to follow the zoning approval process.
I understand you're correct in that statement, but we could not then make up a different process that involves sending things for a public vote. That's not provided by law.
Thank you.
That ends my report.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Is that
We'll get to new business. Yeah.
Okay, we're under new business, required fraud training. Yes, you want to speak to that?
Sure. So June 27th of this year, the Auditor of State issued a bulletin in which they notified everyone that the Ohio Revised Code had been amended to require all political elected officials and employees to take fraud training. Fraud training was developed by the Auditor of State. It is an 8-minute video on fraud, waste, and abuse. So each elected official has to watch the video. At the end, you have the ability to print a certificate and provide us with that certificate, very similar to the public records training, and give that to us. Unlike the public records training, all employees, including part-time employees and seasonal employees, are required to take the training. Current employees are required to complete the training by September 28th. All new employees are required to take the training within 30 days of their date of hire. We probably will institute this as an annual requirement just to cut down on the paperwork of tracking 4 years for everybody. That is what we're doing at the county. We also, there is the option to conduct group trainings as long as you have sign-in sheets. This will probably be something that the Auditor of State audits during the next audit to assure that we're in compliance with this new requirement.
So you would like all the certificates turned into you then? Is that
Yes.
the process?
Yes.
And what about those part-time employees that may be leaving before this 90-day period? Are they going to be?
We're working on it now. We'll get them done.
Thankfully, this is an 8-minute video
Yes.
versus 3 or 4
No
hour training
questions.
class.
No-
There's a test at the end, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Pick a seat.
No quiz, no questions.
It's actually well done. I've done mine. It's well done. It's quick.
Any questions?
No, thank you.
Moving along, discussion on asphalt project at Harry Wolf Park.
Yes, as you know, Vince and Kenny brought us a estimate here a while back. The quote may need updated. That was given to us in April, so the number may change, but it probably won't change by much. The quote is to put asphalt out here in the driveway access that comes off of our parking lot down into Harry Wolf Park, down near the pond area. The quote from Harsh Blacktop out of London, Ohio was for $14,100. Kenny and Vince measured it. At the base, it'll be a rectangular parking lot, actually constructed instead of kind of that gravel look that's down there now. It'll be 70 feet wide and then 36 feet deep down in the parking area once you get down at the bottom of the slope towards the pond. There will be a guardrail added for the backside that faces the pond, closest to the pond. Currently, yeah, we don't want anybody going in the pond. Quite frankly, it's been a miracle that that hasn't happened. You know, as many fishermen back their vehicles down there near the pond, it's a miracle. But regardless, there will be a guardrail put up there. It's going to look nice. And then they provided me with this diagram, and I can get it out to you, but there will be handicap stalls marked. The lined off areas are if a handicap van would need to pull in and take up part of that space, then the van doors could open, a lift even could come out without bumping into another car. So they've thought this through. There'll be 6 total handicap spots or available spots down there with enough room that, in our opinion, would give them enough room to back out and get back up there without backing up the slope. So for then to further this a little bit, just keep in mind for the next topic included as well, it's kind of merging this together, but keep in mind we wrote a grant for a walking path to go all the way around the pond. I believe that grant is still in the review phase. I'm working with them. Sometimes they'll need extra documentation, and I'm working with the state reviewer on that. So I've not been told no. I think we stand a good chance of getting that, I hope. That would be asphalted around the entire pond and connect back here in the woods to the neighborhood behind our wood line to create an exercise recreational trail that would then come through and connect to this new asphalted parking area. And also the staff back here, after watching numerous handicapped people try to navigate down there in wheelchairs, they want to fish, they can't get close enough to the water. Our staff, they've been reading up on ADA compliance, they've called around, they've talked to ODNR. They want to build a fishing dock that is wheelchair accessible, handicap accessible, that would allow folks to go clear up to the edge of the dock, which would be protected, low enough that they can cast and still catch from the shore. So all of this will tie in other words, to what we believe we would like to see happen out here in the park. It will come together. It's going to take some time, but I'm asking for permission to work with this Harsh Blacktop company, with our road department, and get a contract to get this initial parking area and driveway asphalted. That's my first request.
Do you know how many total spaces would be there?
Yeah, they're saying 6.
Sit in here?
No, probably not on your copy. Let me just show you, Joe.
That would be 6 handicap spaces. What about regular spaces?
No, it would be a combination of. It would be awfully rare to have
6 handicap spaces.
Right.
How many total spaces?
6. It'd be 6. So the goal is
3 handicap spaces out of 6, or would it be 6 handicap?
they're telling me 6 total spots.
Okay.
And that rarely would we ever anticipate having that many vehicles down there all handicapped with folks. If that is the case, it'd be just like anywhere else you go, you'd then have to use public parking.
Because if you don't put the 5 feet in there, you may have room for a 7th spot. You're doing 2.
Yeah, but they thought this through for vans. They were really thinking it through. If a van came in, which you commonly see everywhere, did you need to see that? Yes. So the concept, and again, we can work with the contractor on this, the asphalt folks. The concept is way better than what we have, a lot safer than what we have right now, and I think provides the township with a lot better recreational opportunities in our park.
I agree, I like the proposal, there's some details here I have a question about. There's a dotted line showing it rounded off to the parking lot. Is that area going to be asphalted also, is that included in the quote?
That dotted line in that diagram
Right.
is, that is Vince trying to leave it up to when we do this with a company. They're gonna have to come back and tell us, are we better off to round it? In my opinion, you're better off to round it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by far. Because it'll add for the turnaround space as
Well,
well.
also people going off the edge.
Yes.
Turn around.
So my guess is that, and that's why I'm saying we're in the ballpark. You know, the quote, the original quote, which is dated April 12th of this year, was $14,100. And I think we need to do probably maybe an up to dollar amount. And I don't know what, because there could be residual stuff there that I don't know about that could happen, so.
Or do you want to come back with a revised quote?
I would rather move this forward tonight, if at all possible. Can we offer an up to amount of not to exceed 18,000?
Robert, your thoughts? Fiscal League?
Personally, I'd like to see a more comprehensive plan. You have $50,000 that has been designated for Harry Wolf Park, and not knowing what other projects may or may not be approved. Is this where you want to put your first $18,000 out of that 50? There's a limited amount of funds for a number of projects have been mentioned, including the fishing dock.
I think
Is this the
access
best?
is critical.
Let me ask the question, if the trail grant goes through, what is our portion?
25%.
And that is an estimated cost of 180 or 200,000?
187,000 and some change, yeah, so it'd be 25%.
18,000 on this, we don't have the funds left to cover the 25% of that.
Correct, and at this rate, though, we'll be into August before you know it. I've still not been authorized, and then we have time to do the construction of that path. I think you have 2 years, I believe, by the grant to complete the project.
So we could budget for it in future years, is what you're saying.
That's what I would think.
I just feel like access is critical, especially knowing that people in a wheelchair struggle getting down there in the first place. I think that the other projects are very important, very meaningful, but access is critical.
What's your estimate on a dock also?
4,000.
4,000 will cover that plus.
Yeah, 4,000, and it's our staff doing the work. I will add that I did talk to Tamisha about this dock. She believes that is eligible for a reimbursement grant. That's what she believes through the Christopher Reeves Foundation. She believes pretty solidly that all we do is just apply for it, and they would fund something like that because it's wheelchair accessible. And I said, well, what if it's already built? She said, I believe they'll reimburse you. So we will definitely look. Yeah, we'll definitely look into reimbursement.
Another question I have, I'm aware that there is an electric line that goes through that area.
Correct.
Are we going to be covering that up? with
No.
this?
No, the staff is aware of it. They're aware that that is what feeds the fountain. We just talked about that last week. They're very aware. And, we don't want to do that.
Because I saw there's a dry hydrant indicated on that, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That dry hydrant is used by the fire department.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that this blacktop will hold fire equipment going across.
That I don't know. That I don't know.
Hate to have it torn up if it needs to.
Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully, I don't think that would happen very much, but it could.
guardrail's a good idea. We were gonna put that in ourselves, is that?
Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to work with the county engineer to get the guardrail from the railroad project. They're taking guardrail out. And I put in the request to get that so we don't have to buy new. I haven't heard anything back yet.
Assuming that we have the option of spending funds on additional projects next year, Robert, are you comfortable with that?
There are funds available.
Funds available for this project now. Will there be funds you expect in the next budget year if we so move forward with the half around the pond itself?
I cannot guarantee that. $50,000 to the park fund was a contribution.
We have another 22,500 that's supposed to be coming on another project.
It was promised, yes, it has not been received.
I think access is really critical, knowing that handicapped individuals are struggling getting down and over here. I don't think that's acceptable.
I believe we do have several, at least one handicapped wheelchair person I've seen.
Yeah, the park is used a lot. It really is. We had a gentleman out here jogging in the grass around the pond this week. Or I'm sorry, Friday of last week.
I'm okay with this. Motion.
I'd like to just mention that, the cost on this, like 2 years ago, I had an estimate for square footage in that. And this, with them putting the base in and everything, additional bait, rock and stuff, seems reasonable.
Brandon, do you want to tee up the motion?
Yes, I would just like to ask that a motion be made to allow up to $18,000 for the asphalting project of Harry Wolf Park driveway from the parking lot down to the pond, and that you authorize me to enter into a contract for that work with Harsh Blacktop out of London, Ohio.
So moved.
Do we also want to include the dock as part of this motion? As you mentioned.
That should probably be separate. That's the next item. It's up to you. It's up to you.
This thing is separate.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
I ask that the fishing dock project in Harry Wolf Park for handicap accessibility be approved. The work being done by the Jerome Township Road Department, and the estimate on that work, it may not even be that much, but it's at $4,000.
Do we need a motion for that?
Not necessarily. Purchase request form could be completed.
Okay.
It's under 5,000.
Okay, we'll just handle it that way then. Thank you.
I mean,
But you kind of want to let us know
Yes.
what you're considering. And
Correct.
make sure that we're kind of in agreement.
I think it's great. I think it's fine. So,
It'll be used.
can we give him a head nod? He doesn't need a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The next one on my list is the cemetery grant. This is from the state of Ohio. It's offered annually, I believe, or every 2 years. It allows a government entity or someone that takes care of a cemetery to apply up to $2,500 for a grant. I would ask that you authorize me to enter into an application to get this $2,500, and we intend to Michelle does a lot of work on the cemetery management system in our software, and she has determined that in our cemetery, one of the sections of the cemetery, that when the original design was done in the software mapping, it was not done accurately, and so therefore it has thrown off the rows in the cemetery, and it's very difficult for her to maintain accurate records. So this would allow us to apply for up to 2,500. We would then contract with the Cemetery Information Management System software company to fix the map of the cemetery. That's what we're going to do with the money. I think it's 1,700. Can I apply for the grant?
Do we need a motion for that?
Won't hurt.
Okay. So moved.
Second, roll call?
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. Moving quickly through, Trustee Adler received some information recently from Palmer Energy, did a presentation. They are wanting to propose electric aggregation in Union County. A part of that requirement is to get townships to also be aware of it. It doesn't mean you have to do anything with it, but it's basically just to make you aware of it, and that if there are any strong objections, I believe we are to notify the Union County Commissioners. The Commissioners intend then to put this on, I believe, on the November ballot, because it would have to be voted on. If you're not familiar, electric aggregation, you would, and I'm not sure who all's eligible, by the way. I believe there's a rule that if you're under a co-op, you're probably not allowed to be in this, I believe. But regardless, in other parts of Union County, you can imagine, they might be eligible. So this would be countywide. Their job is to go out to all electric providers. They get all of their costs per kilowatt, and then they force that then to be more competitive. They come out with an aggregate cost, and that's what they offer you. And supposedly, then you sign a contract.
The county in this case.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then you can jump on, or you can say, no, I'm happy where I'm at. It doesn't force anything, to my knowledge. So really, that's what this discussion was about, was just to inform the board. And then if you have any concerns or anything else that you have a question with, if there's a question or concern, Trustee Adler, are we to contact the Union County Commissioners?
They just want to know if we are in agreement with them.
Yeah.
No problem with it.
I'm familiar with, I think in Clark County, they do something similar to this, and it affords the residents maybe a better rate per kilowatt on the
Correct.
energy itself, and if they're not locked in already on the contract yet. So,
And we don't have to vote on this at all. It's up to the county commissioners to put it on the ballot and the residents vote on it. The only negative I might add, if you haven't already mentioned, is that they did indicate that 40% of our township residents are not in the Union Rural Electric, and those would be the only persons allowed to include it in this.
yes, if you're in a co-op,
If you're in the co-op, you have no option. You are opted out automatically. So it could be, the negative of that would be if the prices to that 40% are lower than our existing co-op prices, you may have some complaints from our current residents. But all the residents do get to vote on it, whether or not they're in the co-op, if it is unbalanced, it's their choice.
Last thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is discussion on the Public Safety Officer Program. As you know, this is our year where the contract will expire, and we are set to typically go into negotiations. This is one that I have not personally been involved in. I've done a lot of research and conversations about it since I've been here, but this will be the first time I would be involved in it. Earlier this year, I had a conversation with Sheriff Patton about it, and then after Sheriff-elect Mike Justice was elected, he reached out about the same thing. I recently attended, as you know, the Mill Creek Township Board of Trustees meeting. We discussed this there at their meeting, basically in context of 2 points. One, whether or not we want to begin negotiations now with Sheriff Patton, knowing that he's outgoing, or delay for 6 months until 6 months into 2025, while incoming Sheriff Justice gets his feet wet. Their discussion over there was more of, we don't really want to postpone because that sets our entire budget picture a little more hard to figure into 2025. They wanted to negotiate the contract this year. So that's one thing for this board to be considerate of what you want to do. We don't need to decide anything tonight. The sheriff was aware that I was going to be talking to you tonight. I also, I think that what's important would be then some of the major themes in the contract as I know them, just something that I think everybody now is in agreement of, both Sheriff Patton and Sheriff-elect Justice. I've talked to both of them about this, and that is that back when this program was started, the reason it was so appealing was that rural impact for cross-training the deputies where they were trained for fire EMS as well. Now that time has moved on, the deputies here on patrol have really just come to be just enforcement, proactive patrol, enforcing the laws. Rarely could anybody ever give me an example. I may have heard of one, and that was about, well, it's been a while, let's put it that way, that anybody had the time to go back to their car and don fire equipment. It just isn't going to happen.
I've asked and I've
Yeah.
been given 0 examples.
Right. So that is one thing that all are in agreement, including Mill Creek, that we no longer have that a part of the contract. We can get into that when we're at the table for negotiations, but I just wanted to bring that up that, I think more than anything, perhaps the name of the program doesn't change, but the definition of what that program looks like, it just needs to be redefined and modernized, and I think everybody's on board with doing that. So I guess at this point, perhaps, I believe Mill Creek wants to get a meeting set at some point here soon, and I think they're more inclined to go ahead with negotiations this year. So I would open the floor to the board, whatever your preferences are. Robert?
Personally, I'm inclined to also move forward with negotiations this year from a budgetary standpoint. I think it makes sense.
For that man,
I mean, it's not a whole lot of back and forth. I mean, it's a really easy thing. It's like a 3-pager, I think, from memory. Yeah.
And if everybody's in agreement about modifying the definition of what a PSO officer does, I think we should move forward with it because it doesn't seem to be any conflicts. They're not asking for additional officers.
How long is the contract for?
3 years.
Okay.
I think it's critical that Sheriff-elect Justice is a part of this conversation because he has a vision. He may have. I think it would be prudent
He called me
or
actually.
respectful of us to move forward with a 3-year contract without the incoming sheriff being at the table negotiating this contract.
Sheriff-elect did call me yesterday. He knew that this got brought up at Mill Creek, and he thought that it might be discussed tonight. I told him I really didn't think. He offered to come. I said, I really don't know that it's necessary for you to be at our meeting or not. We're not at the table yet. He also understands that, if this board and Mill Creek, or, if the decision is you negotiate, he's fine with that. What he is also on board, he told me that, he agrees that part about the fire EMS part just needs to be gone. We should not be funding that. And then he agrees that he really believes that at some point later, all I asked him was, out of fairness, and I've done the same thing with Sheriff Patton, and that is, when your staffing level gets to where you need to be, because they're still not there yet, and he'll go through that struggle as well early on, that they're working on it, and they've made some improvements, but it's going to take a while, that after he gets his feet wet as sheriff, that at some point on down the line, if he feels like they need to come back and ask that this agreement, the new agreement, be opened back up while we, for some reason, then, or prove to us, show us by data that they need another person. And he is fine with what we have. He believes that, without getting into a lot of great detail here in this setting, that he would be fine if you negotiated this year. He's fine if you want to wait. Either way. I think, but it is key, to your point, Trustee Davis, that it is key that he be kept somewhere informed, and I would expect that Sheriff Patton would expect that that would be the case as well.
You can always proceed, and if there are issues that are brought up outside of the, you know, what the name and the duties of the officers, just pick up the phone and run it by them. I mean, I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think he formally can't negotiate the contract.
That's
No,
He's elected.
but you can get his
We can
opinion.
get his input, and I think that's
Correct.
important that we do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, do we need to authorize?
Well, I think all we're doing now is setting up a meeting, correct? Trying to get a meeting together.
That's what Mill Creek would like to do,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that. We can do that.
I don't
Get the
think
ball
you need a
rolling.
motion for that. I mean, it's just trying to set up a
Yeah.
meeting.
Just please keep us
Yeah.
in the loop with the details as we have these meetings.
Yeah, you folks would be the ones actually negotiating, so to speak, the contract. I'm just negotiating the principles of trying to just work through this and make sure we're on the right path, and I don't think it's gonna be hard. I don't expect any obstacles.
So the process would be to get a draft back and then to go into an executive session to discuss that.
I'll start working on it.
Thank you.
Thank you, that ends my report.
Okay, well, before we go into the executive session, I'm going to go through the announcements real quickly here. Township Board of Trustees meetings will now be live streamed on YouTube. To watch the trustees meetings, you go to the YouTube website and enter a search for Jerome Township Connections, I believe.
No, it's just Jerome Connections, no township, Jerome Connections.
That's why I found it possible.
There you go.
Select the first one with our soldier logo and then select live to see the available video. Since this is a new process, please know that we could experience technical issues from time to time and we'll do our best to get them correct. Residents and visitors, please be advised that Mitchell DeWitt Road will be closed for approximately 90 days for construction of the roundabout. Closure began the week of May 27th. I spoke with Jeff Stotts today and he did say that the contractor says that they are on schedule. Hopeful maybe to complete it ahead of time, but not willing to commit to doing that yet. If you would like to receive notifications regarding the Board of Trustees meetings, please email the Township Office of Jerome Township at jerometownship.com. The website for the project to update the Township's comprehensive plan is still live at www.jerometownshipcomprehensiveplan.com. And the Township is always accepting applications for positions on our zoning boards. Please visit the Jerome Township website to fill out an application. The time is 8:26. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22G3 for a conference with attorneys concerning disputes involving the township that are the subject of pending court action, and 121.22G8 for the purpose of considering confidential information related to the marketing plan, specific business strategy, and trade secrets of an applicant for economic development assistance, or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance that is to be provided or administered pursuant to sections 3735.65-70, 5709.61-.69, and section 5709.73 of the Ohio Revised Code, and involves public infrastructure improvements directly related to an economic development project. The executive session is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the proposed economic development project.
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Adler?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
over here.
The time is 9:21. I move that we adjourn executive session.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Adler?
Yes?
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Pratt?
Yes.
No actions were taken as a result of executive session. I move that we adjourn.
Second, the time is 9:22.